Hi, my name is Sarah from Soap School, and today we're going to talk about how to calculate a soap recipe. And if you stick around, I'm going to show you how easy it is for you to just change an oil out if you don't have all of the ingredients in your soap recipe. To calculate a soap recipe, you're going to need a soap calculator. Now that isn't complicated and you don't need to do any maths, so don't worry. Now this particular soap calculator is fantastic, but it really doesn't look very sexy. But don't worry about that, it's going to do everything that you need it to. It's called Soapcalc. I'm going to put the web link into the description for you, but it's just soapcalc.net. Now when you first come in here, it does look a bit strange and weird and there's things blinking all over the place. It looks like a NASA control center. Do not worry, it is super easy. All you need to do is to click on Recipe Calculator up here. Now if you do get lost and you want to go through this in more detail, you can also come to Soapcalc directions and it really goes into things in a lot more detail for you. So everything is right here and it explains all of the ins and outs and things in far more detail if you really want to go that far. But we're keeping it really simple and just doing a basic recipe, and then I'm going to show you how you can change things as well. The great thing is when you are in here, everything is numbered. It's literally a step by step. And there are just 7 simple steps to create anything that you would need. The first step, step 1, is literally to think about the type of lye that you are going to use. And it defaults to NaOH, which is caustic soda or sodium hydroxide. And that's the one that you'll be using if you're making solid bar soaps. The KOH is if you are making liquid soaps, and we're not looking at those today. So we don't need to do anything at all because it's already on the right setting. And then step 2 is the weight of oils. When it comes to this, you may decide that you want to do yours in ounces or grams. But don't worry, because whichever you do it in, when the final printout comes out, it's actually going to show it in all 3 for you. So don't worry too much about that. But for today, I'm going to choose grams. And here you can select the size of recipe that you want to create. So let's say that I want to create 1,000 grams or a 1 kilo batch. I'm just going to put 1,000 grams into that box. And you can change that to whatever size batch you want to create. And then step 3 is water. It already gives you a default here of 38. That's 38% water to your oils. Now, I tend to go a little bit lower than this, but if you're just starting out, you can leave it exactly as it is and it will still work absolutely fine for you. So I'm not going to alter that at all today. We're going to leave that just as it is. Let's move on to step 4. You might be thinking, what on earth is a superfat? Well, a superfat is an amount of extra oil that is in your recipe, and it's there as a safety buffer. And to make sure that your soap is not going to be caustic, we add in this extra amount of fat. And generally, 5% is a good amount to use. So again, you could change this if you wanted to, and you could make it 6% or 8%, but I'm going to leave it at 5%. When it comes to the fragrance, it's already set at 31 grams per kilogram of oils. And you can change that if you want to. So if your particular essential oil or fragrance oil needs to be lower than that, you can just change this amount. If you prefer something stronger and you're making it just for yourself, you can absolutely change that to a different level. But let's get on to the nuts and bolts, because these top sections are really simple and you don't need to change them very much at all. This is where our main recipe is, and doesn't it look scary? But honestly, it is so simple. So let's look at what we've got to do. When it comes to number 5, we're going to be typing in our oils. Forget all of this, you don't need this right now. All we're looking at is this list of oils here. And as we pick them, it's going to put them over into this section here. So don't worry at all. We just need to think about what the recipe is. So let's go with a really simple recipe. We're going to pick coconut oil, and I'm going to change it from percentage to grams You can use either, but we've put everything in grams, so I'm going to do the recipe in grams too. And again, the lovely thing is it's going to give you both percentage and grams at the end with the printout, so whichever you want is going to be there. I'm going to do 300 grams of coconut oil. I'm going to use olive oil. And I'm going to do 500 grams of olive oil. And then I'm going to do, let's say, palm oil. And I'm going to do 200 grams of palm oil. So this all adds up to 100, but if you're not sure what it adds up to, just click on number 7, calculate recipe. And there it tells you that it totals 100% and it's 1000 grams in total. Now I want to view or print my recipe, so I'm just going to click on this button here. And here we have a recipe all ready and finished for you, and it's really easy to understand. So it tells us the amount of water that we need, it tells us the amount of lye that we need to weigh out, it tells us the total amount of oils that we're going to have, how much fragrance, and then here it tells us the breakdown of our oils. So 300 grams of coconut, 500 grams of olive oil, 200 grams of palm oil. Let's assume that you have this recipe and you don't have palm oil. What are you going to use instead? Well, you can't just switch something out without putting it through this calculator because the amount of lye needed will change. So let's just double check that amount of lye again. We needed 143.53. Now let's change a couple of things. Let's say that we don't have palm oil. Let's press the minus and get rid of the palm oil. What could we use instead? Well, let's say that you've got sunflower oil. Let's put sunflower oil in and let's still put the 200 grams in, and then let's recalculate the recipe. So here we've got our new recipe. Ooh, now things have changed, haven't they? If we look at the amount of lye, it's now 142.18, but we were previously at 143.53. We don't need the same amount of lye, we need less amount of lye to turn this into soap and make it a nice, safe recipe. So you can come back to your recipe and you can play around with ingredients that you do have at home. Now there are many, many different oils here. You can see it's in alphabetical order and there really is just so many different things here. So you will be able to play around and find the perfect recipe for you. I hope this has helped you to see how you can formulate and calculate your soap recipes and how easy it is to change out an oil if you don't have an ingredient for your soap recipe. And if you'd like to try out a recipe yourself, I'm going to link at the end to a lovely simple recipe that's perfect for people who are just starting out on their soap making journey. I hope you enjoy it and I can't wait to see you again really, really soon. Bye bye for now.